Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Wayne Winsley, who is the founder and CEO of Brave Enough to Fail. Wayne, welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you so very much for having me, Mike. It's a pleasure.
You're welcome. Well, give us a little bit of background on yourself, and then let's get into what Brave Enough to Fail is. I love the sound of it, so I'm excited to hear what the organization is.
Okay, so I'll start actually by telling you a little bit about myself, and that'll kind of put everything in context, if I may.
Sure.
I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio, which makes me a Browns fan. Finally happy after years and years. But
football fan after those dismal seasons you guys have had forever. Now you're putting together a nice season. That's awesome.
Absolutely. First time in a long time. Well, like I said, I was born in Cleveland, Ohio. I was raised by a single parent, not my mother or my grandmother, but my great-grandmother. I tell the students that the woman that raised me was born in 1911.
Wow.
And when she became too old to take care of me, I ended up in the social welfare system. I was in an orphanage. They call them group homes now, but back then they were still orphanages. And also ended up in Boys Town, which is another group home. But along the way, when I was in 8th grade, because I was moving around so much, I failed 8th grade the first time. Second time around in 8th grade, I'm now in the welfare system, and I basically gave up on school. If you took the days that I went to school that second time around in 8th grade, stayed all day without skipping any classes, it would realistically add up to about 2 weeks. So
wow.
So I was this 14-year-old black kid walking around the streets of Cleveland, Ohio with no plan, no nothing. Realistically, statistically, I was going to wind up in one of two places, prison or the cemetery. What changed the direction of my life was a conversation. Not someone speaking to me, but a conversation I overheard. I was at a friend of mine's house, and his dad was talking to him about his report card. He was not very happy with him. And there's that awkward moment when you're at your buddy's house and your buddy's getting yelled at and you're just trying to be invisible over in the corner. Well, that was me. But one of the things that Rick's dad, that's the guy's name, his father said to him was, always strive for excellence. I don't care what you do, but be excellent at something, because excellence will overcome poverty, prejudice, and adversity every time. Just be excellent at something. Yeah. And now both those gentlemen are still in my life. Neither one of them remember that conversation. I like to say that, God was talking to me that day.
Yeah.
And based on that conversation, I made a choice. I chose to go back to school, go back to class, and actually work at it. Now, did I magically turn into an A student? No, I'd been disengaged for the better part of 2 years. I got some A's and B's. Quite honestly, was a C student in math. Now, I did celebrate a 70 as if it was 100.
Right. But guess what? If that was the best you could do and you applied yourself, then rock on with that 70.
Absolutely. And that was the best I could do, at least in math. Yeah. But I went ahead. I graduated high school, didn't go to prison. I'm clearly not in the cemetery yet. I went on to serve my country honorably in 2 tours in the United States Navy and enjoyed a 20-year career as a radio broadcaster, and in 2012 was actually blessed to be nominated to run for United States Congress here in the state of Connecticut where I live. So I am living proof that a message can change the trajectory of a child's life. And I have dedicated the rest of my life to bringing that message to as many young folks as possible. That is the essence and philosophy of Brave Enough to Fail. Brave Enough to Fail simply means having or being brave enough to risk failure is a non-negotiable requirement for success in any venture.
Yeah. And
we just encourage students to have the courage to pursue their dreams. And that's what we do.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned about the conversation you overheard, because if you can now work with kids and have an intentional conversation to help them, be the best and be excellent and be brave enough to fail, how much more powerful that is than you as a kid just overhearing something, right?
Absolutely. And that is what we've found. In the short time that we've been operating, 5 years, we got our 501c3 in October of 2015. Since then, we've reached over 15,000 students and provided over $30,000 in scholarships. We now have scholars. Our original scholars are juniors in college.
Wow. And probably if you were to bring them on the call right this minute, you could say to them, before you came through the program, what would you say would be your educational or your aspirational goal? And they would say, not even close to where I am.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have young people who are at all levels of the educational spectrum, but a lot of them don't know, or at least didn't know, that there was a choice to be made. Going back to when I was 14 years old, when I was wandering around, before I heard that message, I didn't think about my future. I didn't even think about my life past 18 when I aged out of the welfare system, because it was like a blur to me. It was something that I didn't want to look at because I had no clue. But it wasn't until I became aware that there was another choice to be made, then I could choose better.
Yeah. And when you talk about being excellent at whatever that you put your hands to, right? Would you say that is the kind of linchpin piece that helps you to overcome the adversities, or were there other elements to that helps you kind of achieve and ascend to that?
I would say that was the catalyst. That decision was the thing that made other things. It gave me the courage to actually try. And that's what it comes back to, like with whether it's business, as an entrepreneur, or any venture at all. Fear of failure is the biggest destroyer of dreams than anything else that I can think of. And being able to actually just take a shot and try to be excellent, and that put me in the position to make other good choices. That's, it starts with that one choice. Like there was other choices that went into becoming, the man that I am today. But to your question, the crux of it, the initial catalyst, yes, was deciding to try to be excellent.
Yes. And guess what? There is a big difference between deciding to try and then taking that first step, and then that next step, and then that next step.
Yes. And that is where preparation, perseverance, a strategy, all those other things come into play. And that's what we lay out for our students. We equip them with the tools to become the absolute boss of their dream. And that, in fact, we just unveiled a new pilot program. We were asked to create a curriculum to go with our presentation. And if I may, can I just back up just a touch and tell you how the organization works?
Oh, yeah. I'd love to hear that.
So Brave Enough to Fail is a nonprofit student motivational program. The core of what we do is we provide free motivational programs and scholarships to high schools. We would start with going in and doing a big assembly-style presentation at a high school, usually like the whole senior class or junior class or freshman class or sophomore. And the presentation is called Be the Boss of Your Dream. Then we leave 5 $1,000 scholarships at each school that we serve, because that gives us the ability to say, when I'm on the stage, to say, this $5,000, these scholarships, they're not for someone in the state or in the district. They're for someone in this room. That's a more powerful incentive than, if it was the other way around. And now COVID gave us the opportunity to pivot and provide our services virtually to reach even more students, because we have schools and school districts that have requested our program across 26 states. And these are people that just came across what we do online or heard about us from other schools. And this year we were asked to add a Brave Enough to Fail course, a curriculum that could be taught either as an elective or as an after-school program. And we've done that, and that's called Boss Academy. And it's based on the word boss. The letter B is for big dreams. We teach students to embrace the concept of dreaming big and expecting big things to happen for them. Because, as you know, someone who is an entrepreneur and deals with entrepreneurs all the time, expectations is key. When you expect big things to happen for you, well, you make decisions and actions based on those big expectations. And when you do that, then big things begin to happen for you. The O is for getting out of your comfort zone. Your dream's not going to come true in the confines of your comfort zone. We have to go out, and if we want results that we've never gotten before, you got to meet people you've never met, go places you've never gone, do things you've never done. The S is for strategy, having a plan. A dream without a plan is just a fantasy. And the last S is for stick-to-itiveness, the perseverance to keep going when it gets hard, because it will get hard. There's going to be days, yes. We all have those days when we don't feel like it, or it's taking too long, or we're not getting the results we want, and we have to stick to it. And that's the message that we are giving the next generation.
Here's something that I come across frequently, because I teach marketing at several universities, and I teach college age students as well as adult learners in the younger adult, like 25, 30-year-old range. And so I'm going to describe what I see and see if you feel like this fits into what you teach, and if this could be an element of maybe what boss could focus on, which is this. Okay. People don't take ownership of themselves. People are expecting to make a mess and then have someone else clean it up so they don't have to deal with it. And here's what that looks like. Through let's say a 15-week semester online class, a student, this happened like literally weeks ago, 2 students in 2 separate classes emailed me to say, I'm so sorry, I've not been as diligent as I should have been in class, and I need to pass this class to graduate. Please let me know what can be done. And so I look back in the class, and out of 45 assignments, they did not turn 22 of them in. So I replied back, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do. The late policy is, and whatever. And then it became this whole federal case, and it became something like I'm entitled. You need to let me finish it. I need to turn it in. You need to let, and I'm seeing people, the tendency for human nature is that they just do what they want when they want, and they don't really care about the consequence until it gets real, like I'm not going to graduate, and then, hey, professor, you're going to need to fix this because I need to just do what I need to do. And in the real world, when you get out into a job, your boss doesn't play that. So do you see that in the mentality and approach of students in the age groups you work with?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So how do you fix that?
Well, first of all, being the boss of your dream means it is up to you.
Yeah.
You are in charge of whether or not you're successful or not. The other thing that we tell people, and I have fun saying it, the world doesn't care that you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
What that means is consequences are real. If you step off the curb in front of a bus, the bus does not take into account, oh, well, no, he's looking in his phone. Or, no, he's just having a bad day. No, you're going to get hit by the bus.
Yeah.
And
right.
You will pay the full price, whether it's a trip to the hospital or a trip to the morgue. The world doesn't care that you're not paying attention. The price will be paid. So you have to take ownership of your dreams. Like, and as hard as and as non-politically correct as it may sound, the world didn't care that poor Wayne Winsley was this 14-year-old black kid walking around the streets of Cleveland with no future ahead of him. No, I had to make a decision to take ownership of my life. But here's the good thing about that. America is this wonderful place that when you do take ownership, and I'm guaranteed that you've seen this, when people see someone working hard, trying to do the right thing, trying to accomplish something, people will help you. They will. There are people who will see someone who is a go-getter, someone who is working hard, and maybe struggling, but working hard. People will help you. They don't owe you anything, but they will help you. You have to be gracious enough to accept that help and even brave enough to ask in some instances. But at the end of the day, it comes down to us. Your business isn't going to start itself. Your podcast isn't going to make itself famous. You got to crack the mic, and you got to book some interviews, and you got to have some interesting content, right?
Yes.
So, and they don't care, and the world doesn't care if you wanted to sleep in.
Yeah, it's. You hear these the same thing in many personal development programs. When you realize that it's on you, it's your responsibility, it's your fault. If you don't like where your life is right now, it's on you, it's your fault. So fix it. It's not, you can't pass the buck and it's on someone else, and you can't expect them to, because now you're not, and it reminds me of the example in nature about the caterpillar and the butterfly. If the chrysalis, the butterflies start to come out, and you see that, and you're like, oh, what a great, neat thing, and then you start tearing the cocoon open, and you help it out, guess what happens?
Yeah, it dies.
And why? Do you know why? Have you heard this?
No, I haven't. I know it does. I don't know why.
It dies because it needs that struggle and stress on its wings to exert pressure so that the blood flow and the exertion allows the wings to get that last bit of development so that it can have the strength to fly. You open up that cocoon and it doesn't happen, and boom, done. So sometimes those harder times, or those, crucible times, are what refines you.
Absolutely. And we can't see that at the time, but the beauty of hindsight, I can look back now and I can see where every circumstance in my life prepared me for all the successes that I was able to enjoy later in life, and has positioned me to be able to now be a blessing to other young people.
Yeah. Neat. Well, let's wrap up this here, Wayne, because I really enjoy what you're doing and your mission and your cause. What's the best way people can hear this and go, I want to learn more, get behind his mission, his cause? What's the best way they can reach out to you?
Best way to reach out to us is through our website, braveenoughtofail.org. All one word, braveenoughtofail.org. And you can go there, you can sign up for our newsletter, and you can get involved with us in lots of different ways. If you're a parent, a student, a teacher, or just someone who wants to be a supporter. We have local businesses and things like that sponsor this program into schools, which is how we're able to do everything we do at no cost to schools or students.
Excellent. That is so good. I'll make sure that the website link is in the show notes. And Wayne, thank you so much for coming on today. It was great hearing about your wonderful cause and the impact you make in kids' lives.
Okay. Thank you so very much for having me today.
You're welcome, Wayne.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneurssradio.com.